Hi, this is Brian Forster, and this is part one in what will probably be about a 25-part series of our recent explorations in April of 2019 of Egypt, Jordan, and Lebanon. So obviously this is in the region of the Giza Plateau, and in fact this is what is called by academics the workers' village. They date it at 4,500 years ago and suppose that this is where the Great Pyramid builders lived, but there is very scant evidence to substantiate that, as no hieroglyphics or other written records have been found that state that this is the place where the builders lived. Now, the population was approximately 20,000 people, and its proximity to the Great Pyramid, of course, would lead some to believe that this is where the builders of the Great Pyramid system lived. However, the quality of the workmanship of their own houses is honestly not that good, and many of us believe that the dynastic people found the Great Pyramids approximately 5,000 years ago in place, and that they date, in fact, to probably 12,000 plus years old, and were constructed by a very advanced civilization with high technology. So this is the interior of a reasonably well-made building. You can see the limestone blocks with some limestone mortar, relatively tight-fitting, but of course the Great Pyramid was made with much more advanced technology. And here again is another limestone building. Relatively small stones with mortar construction. And in here there are actually two chambers. Here we have Yusuf Awian, our guide, coming out. And Susan Moore, our geologist, is inside inspecting the construction. So once again, just because there is a village near the Great Pyramid doesn't mean that that's where the pyramid builders in fact lived. So this in fact is a tomb area inside this structure. And once again, reasonably good construction technique, but nothing on the scale or quality of the Great Pyramid. And it's actually quite mixed. You have reasonable style construction, some hollowing out of what could be the bedrock here, and then relatively crude construction in the same area. Here, of course, are some hieroglyphs, which I personally cannot read. This shows us that it's dynastic, of course. And once again, the village is dated to about 4,500 years ago. Now we have the Great Pyramid on the right and the second pyramid in the middle. And these, of course, are named as Khufu and Khafre, but it's highly unlikely, once again, that Khufu and Khafre were responsible for their construction. They were simply named after them because they were the most important people of their time. And of course, it's normal, if you are the ruler of an area, to have a massive structure like that named after you. And of course, we know that they were not used as tombs. So there, actually, we have pyramid number 3, known to some as Menkaure. There we have pyramid number 2, and there is pyramid number 1. Now what's interesting here is Susan is discovering and studying this fault line area. This is where a major upthrust occurred of the limestone bedrock. And on closer examination, we can see lots of seashells, especially clusters of oysters. And since oysters tend to live in shallow water, that means that this, of course, was the ancient ocean bed that was upthrust. And again, here we see more of this cataclysmic movement of the ocean bed. And in the background, the Great Pyramids. Now, this area is not open to the general public, but it's thanks to our connections that we were able to have an official visit to explore this facet of the Giza Plateau. And take into account that the Giza Plateau area is not simply where the three Great Pyramids are. You have to include other adjacent areas such as Abu Sir, Abu Ghurab, Abu Rowash, Saqqara. And the ancient name for what we call the Giza Plateau area is Bu Wizir, or the land of Osiris. And this knowledge and teaching comes to us from Abdel Hakim Awiyan, who was Yusuf's father. And he is regarded by many to have been the greatest of the guides of ancient Egypt. Not only was he a local person, he also had 2 university degrees in archaeology and Egyptology, and as well, he understood the ancient Suf system, or Suf language, which was the language of the ancient Egyptians. So he could translate original place names into the meaning of what that place was. For example, the Bent Pyramid he called Seneferu, or Sneferu, which means double harmony. And that suggests that, again, the great ancient pyramids were not tombs, but were vibrational structures. So here we are. On the left-hand side is the relatively modern cemetery. This is where Abdel Hakim is buried. And now we're going to start walking down and see some other interesting structures in this area, which again are not open to the general public, but are available for viewing if you have the right permit. Now, it's thanks to being able to be on the ground that we can make these observations, which don't match up with some academic work. And that, again, is why we do this trip once a year. Our next one will be in March of 2020, and we invite you to come along with us. The spaces available will be limited, and so if you're interested in joining us, please contact me through my website, hiddenincatours.com, or Patricia at chematology.com. So this is our final walk around, and we're looking into and seeing different ancient caves as well as the strata of the limestone material. So these ancient caves could very well have been tombs or areas where stone was extracted. And a very important point to make is that on the Giza Plateau, of course, there were many burials during dynastic times, but in many cases those burials were done in shafts and tunnels that were constructed at the same time that the Great Pyramids were constructed. So much farther back in time than dynastic times, more likely in the region of 12,000 years ago. And as a special treat, we were also allowed to see this ancient megalithic wall, again through special permission. And this wall is called the cave. No, it's not the wall. Sorry about that slight confusion. It's called the Wall of the Crow. Now, why it has a name like that, I have absolutely no idea. But as you can see, there is a very massive megalithic block on top. What the original function of the wall was, we don't know, but I believe that it may very well be contemporary with the construction of the Great Pyramids, or possibly is a dynastic construction. You can see the massiveness of these megalithic blocks on top, either created originally by the pre-dynastics or reconstructed by the dynastic people. So that's one advantage of joining us on tour. Again, the next one will be in March of 2020. You can meet me at Contact in the Desert, May 31st to June 3rd in California. And please think about joining us on a tour of India in January of 2020.